I want to know from you guys who you think the most underrated team right now is. We've all seen preseason top 25 projections. We've all seen different outlets put together their projections for who's going to win certain leagues. I want to know who you guys think is the most underrated team right now in college basketball. T.O., I'm going to you first.
No, go to Fanta first, because now I got to rethink some of these things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Fanta.
I'll go in the ACC. They still won over 20 games last season. That's Tony Bennett's Virginia Cavaliers. Virginia fell off the radar as a result of the Atlantic Coast Conference struggling during the regular season last year and lacking a lot of depth. And that's okay, but that was last year. This is this year. Virginia brings basically everybody back. Jaden Gardner is a high-level player who has versatility. He can score the ball in a variety of ways. And for a Virginia program where offense has been hard to come by at times, and last year, don't get me wrong, UVA's offense struggled again. I think having the returning players that they have, I think being able to say to Kihei Clark and Reese Beekman, you've been in these situations before. Now it's time for you two to take us to another gear. Armand Franklin back as well. They made a couple of nice additions over the offseason. Tony Bennett worked the portal a little bit. I think Virginia right now is viewed as a team that's like 20 to 30 in college basketball, that if I saw them guys in January or February at 12 or 13 in the country, it wouldn't surprise me at all, because I thought that team had to swallow their lumps last year. But we know one thing in college hoops: when you've got returning experience, you're going to be able to build. That team still won 21 games last season. They missed the tournament. The ACC wasn't good. I like Virginia. I like Tony Bennett. I trust him to not have back-to-back years without making the big dance after they made 7 in a row.
Mm-hmm. I can't disagree with that. I just went through all the teams that I've already done. Virginia is that team. I have them picked second in the Atlantic Coast. And it's largely because last season, when you watch them play, it seemed like they were just a year away. Like they had Reese Beekman, who's really, really good. They had a young man named Caden Shedrick, who I think is a very good player, but seemed to be a year away. Like they're now here. It's now time for Virginia to be good. And after Armand Franklin had a really poor year from three last year. He came from Indiana shooting over, 40% from three. He shot in the 20s last year. This isn't typical. And sometimes it takes guys to kind of adjust to playing that slow. Like that's an issue. And that's coming from the Big Ten to going to Virginia and then playing that slow. I think he'll be better. Jaden Gardner's proven to be a really good scorer despite being undersized at 6'6", 250 pounds. He's a horse. Virginia falls into that toughness category too, because they just continue to do all those tough things consistently. I think Armand Franklin could have a better year. Reese Beekman, though, is special. And they have a lot of other guys too that can get it done. Yeah. Isaac McNeely's a name to keep an eye on too. Bigger guard, can shoot the ball at a high level. Young kid, played, I want to say for Wildcat Select out of Pittsburgh. Tough, hard-nosed kid, can shoot the basketball, play both guard spots. Virginia's got guys. Go ahead, Fanta.
Two other things. Ben Vanderplas from Ohio, quality transfer. And they have a top 15 recruiting class. So you have all this coming back, and you have one of the better recruiting classes in the country, one of Tony Bennett's best recruiting classes. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of momentum, but it's kind of quiet because they did miss the tournament last year, and they're not one of the biggest name brands. But guys, that program won a national championship 3 years ago. They're going to be back.
Mm-hmm. So I don't hate the Virginia call. I went with a team that's got a new head coach this year, a new old head coach. I think Xavier is a team that a lot of people are not talking enough about when it comes to just how good they are. They were, from a talent perspective, a top 20 team the last couple of seasons, right? If you look at what is on the floor and what they have at their disposal, I think that Sean was smart in who he brought in to replace Paul Scruggs. I think that Sully Boom is going to be a guy that can create offense for him. The transfer they got coming in from UTEP, who also happens to have like one of the best names that you can find in college. Sully Boom, are you kidding me? I cannot wait for Fanta to be on the broadcast when that dude hits a big three. Boom! They got a couple freshmen coming in that I think are going to be really, really impactful players. Des Claude is a guy that is going to get a lot of attention this season, and rightfully so. The staff is very, very excited about him. I think that Colby Jones is ready to take the leap that we all thought he was going to make at the start of last season. He was probably the best player in the NIT for 5 years, or for 5 games on the stretch as they won the NIT. And
well, he was the most outstanding player. I mean, he was the best player.
He was the best player in the NIT. I think that
I love Jack Nungy too.
Yeah, Jack Nungy's a great piece. I think that Sean is going to be the kind of personality that can get the best out of Zach Fremantle, right? And if he's not going to get the best out of Zach Fremantle, then Zach Fremantle is not going to be a distraction. And I don't think that they have to have Zach Fremantle be at his best for them to be at their best. I think that it's very possible for them to be able to put 3 wings, a point guard, and Jack Nungy on the floor and be a team that could be a top 20 basketball team in America. And look, I'll tell you this much. If there's one thing Sean Miller knows how to do, it's how to win basketball games. And I got a feeling that, when we talk about the Big East standings, Creighton is a team everybody mentions first. Then it probably ends up being Villanova and UConn in some order. No one put Xavier in that mix. I would not be surprised in the least to look up in February and see Xavier right there competing with UConn, competing with Villanova, and most importantly, competing with Creighton for a Big East regular season title. There'd be no shock in my mind.
And then playing Arizona in the Sweet 16 game.
If that happens, like, look, I love Sean, and he'll probably get mad at me if I say this, but please, basketball gods, those are the kind of storylines that we need in March. Sean Miller knocking Arizona out of the tournament would be unbelievable. Imagine this scenario. We have an Elite 8 matchup between Arizona, right? And Sean Miller and Xavier, who has never been to a Final Four. Imagine Sean Miller ending Arizona's season in the Elite 8 and finally getting to his Final Four in the first year he's coaching after Arizona fired him. That is like, those are we need to, please, basketball gods, if I could ask for one thing, we need Sean Miller knocking Xavier out of the NCAA tournament this year.
Knocking Arizona.
We need Sean Miller knocking Arizona out of the NCAA tournament this year. I had to make sure I get it right for our social clip.
Hey, I got 2 more teams real quick now that I've gathered my thoughts.
I legitimately said in the rundown, Tio, you get one.
I know. There was reasons I couldn't get to it. I told you that off. Poor Rosie. Rest in peace.
Jeez.
R.I.P. Rosie.
Yeah, poor Rosie. Okay, first of all,
but hold on a second. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Are you here? You knew exactly what you were doing there. You're going to start laughing. Your face is turning bright red. You just basically told Rob. You basically just told Rob the equivalent of "you're an asshole." Okay, and she might be gone, but Rosie just said, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah, that's right. All right, two teams. One from the Big East. Butler. Rob, you brought this up to me and Fanta. I wasn't a huge believer at first, and then I took a deep dive into the roster. They needed 2 things from last year they were terrible at. One, they needed 3-point shooting. They were the worst 3-point shooting team in the Big East. They add Eric Hunter Jr. from Purdue, who shot north of 40% last year, and Ali, who might be one of the most underrated transfers in the country. 6'7", 6'8", can really score it, can really shoot it, can guard multiple positions in that league. And then they added Manny Bates, and they also added Jalen Thomas, a Georgia State transfer. Both of those guys are high-level rim protectors. That's what they needed. And whenever it's like when you look at a car and you're like, it's an okay car. And then you pop the hood and you're like, oh, well, that piece is nice. That piece is nice. Oh, that fits together perfectly. That piece is nice. Don't be surprised if Thad Matta gets it going at Butler. Alabama, we're not talking enough about either. And there's 2 teams in the SEC right now that are getting a lot of the love, and that's Arkansas and Kentucky, and rightfully so. But a guy that I think could be an All-American, a freshman All-American, is Brandon Miller. This dude is special. And if guys
love him, they love him down there. They absolutely love him.
He is so good. And within the context and the flow of an offense that they like to run down there, and it's up tempo and shooting threes, and you can use big wings offensively. That dude's special at 6'9", 200 pounds. Tennessee native, no big deal. Went to Alabama. I'm just going to throw that piece in there. They also have the number 1 ranked point guard in the country coming in. High school wise, Jaden Bradley, who they're going to need to be good while Quinterly inches his way back to full health.
You know who they're really excited about? They're really excited about Mark Sears, the kid.
I was about to bring him up next. He was terrific at Ohio last year.
You know why?
Good player,
because he's a beast.
He can stroke it, man. He can stroke it. They're really excited. They are excited about him. And honestly, like, I would not be surprised if Javon Quinterly comes back and doesn't doesn't earn a starting spot back and doesn't get priority point guard minutes back, because I think Mark Sears is going to step in and be exactly what you need out of the point guard spot in a NATO off.
I also think it's important to remember that they have played basically 2 point guard sized dudes over the past few years.
Yeah.
So like Jaden Bradley and Mark Sears are going to fit together well. Jaden Bradley's really good too, guys. Yeah. Like always makes the right read, big body, 6'3", buck 85 at the point guard spot.
I will say this though. I will say this about that.
Pretty good.
I will say this about that. When Alabama was at their absolute best was when they had Herb Jones essentially playing the point with 4 other dudes that were between 6'4" and 6'6" on the perimeter and a rim protector. They were at their best when they were the number 3 defense in college basketball. And you can't Herb Jones was utterly unique on that end of the floor. Like you're not going to be able to replace. There's a reason why the dude stepped into the NBA and impacted right away. He was special. You're not going to replace that. But I do think that there's an element when it comes to Brandon Miller's ability to allow you to play a little bit bigger and more switchable. And I think he's also someone that for the Almanac, I interviewed Nate Oates for the preview. And he was
shameless plug.
Well, yeah, another shameless plug. He was very adamant that this group, in part led by Miller, in part led by some of the new additions, was much more about Alabama than they were about, I need to get mine to help Alabama win, if that makes sense. So I think that buying in, there's a lot of buy-in on that team that makes sense. All right.
Let me throw this out there. Early prediction. Brandon Miller could be, it's not fully a prediction, but could be the highest draft pick by the time it's all said and done out of the SEC.
The only reason I disagree is I am on the Nick Smith bandwagon.
Arkansas, man.
You can disagree. Go ahead and disagree.
Well, no, I think that Nick Smith is.
I'm pretty good at these.
No, you are good, which makes me kind of like. Well, I'm first and foremost, I'm on the Brandon Miller hype train. I think that he is I see him mocked kind of in like the 10 to 14 range. And I think that he'll end up being a top 5 pick. But I also think that Nick Smith is like, there's a non-zero chance that he could end up being like the best college basketball draft pick this year.
Quick twitch is a big thing in the NBA.
Yep.
I just get pissed off. Had North Carolina hung on, I could have done victory laps around both of you guys all off season long, because I was the only guy that was ballsy enough to say Coach K's career was going to end. And then freaking North Carolina made me run and get a bloody nose. I still am mad about that. I'm so mad.
By the way, Childress never ran. RC didn't run.
He's 63 years old these days, man. This is not RC crossing people over, staring them down. He's an old man now. He is an old man. Like we have young kids.
Clip this. Yeah. Whoever's supposed to clip this, this and send it direct to RC.
He is an old man right now. He just doesn't have the motor anymore. He doesn't have the juice. Honestly, I don't even think RC could shoot it anymore.
That's what doesn't leave. That's what doesn't leave. He's still good to go.
What's going on, guys? Rob Doster here, the founder of the Field of 68 and the Field of 12 Media Networks. I wanted to take a quick minute to let you guys know about an exciting new project that we have been working on for the last 3 months. The Almanac, an all-encompassing preview of the 2022-23 college basketball season. We spoke with every single Division I head coach to give you a robust and accurate preview for all 363 Division I college basketball teams. We have predictions for conference finishes for all 32 leagues. We have features on the best freshmen, the best big men, the breakout stars, the coaches on the hot seat, so much more. It is 600,000 words of sheer happiness for the college basketball fan in your life. The Almanac is going to be available for digital purchase on September 26th for just $19.99, but you can pre-order it today using the promo code HOOPS and save 20%. Just hit the link in the description below.